Bill Henshaw here again. You know, the big troublemaker and constitutional kook you all know and love. And on top of the case I just mentioned in an earlier video today from Merced, I have another friend of mine way back east in the Keystone State who went to a quote unquote trial. And he's one that has some good working knowledge of the law, and that helps. And I urge you to study. When you get my document packet, study my 5 basic documents. You'll get instructions with them. If you understand the basic issues, you can do the same thing. And he has a real problem with the DMV, driver's licenses, insurance, you name it. Well, he gets hauled into court because he doesn't have a license and doesn't have vehicle registration and so forth. And I don't have the full details of this yet, but the judge, quote unquote, was apparently very annoyed with him, but must have issued a suspended sentence and advised him, gave him documents so that they can prove next time that he knows if you don't have a license, they can throw you in jail for 6 months. Well, that's not so bad in and of itself, but as he's leaving the courthouse, the cop comes up to him and advises him to get a license and gets his vehicle insured because we're out there looking for you. No sooner he gets out of the courthouse, he gets a call from his wife that says that the cops are out there on the exit. He takes off the freeway to go to work, apparently waiting for him. Where I come from, we call that conspiracy. And it may fall under RICO, the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, and it could apply civilly or criminally for what they're doing, because what they're doing is trying to enforce the statute that the local dumbass can't possibly make a case against you. They cannot prove you're a quote-unquote person required to have a license. And trust me, you get my document packets and take a look at how I've arranged this, you're going to see it immediately. By the way, information on those packets can be obtained at ccaspari@live.com. And send me an email. I'll send you information. You're going to absolutely love it. Very modestly priced document packets, less than $1 per page. And if you can go out there and find an attorney that gives you stuff like that at anywhere near that price, I'd love to hear it. But it's great information. You can use it, and it's across the board. It isn't just a one-shot deal with the DMV. Every time you're in traffic court, and these issues work across the board in a lot of other settings. Because what we're saying here is the court doesn't have jurisdiction, that California or Pennsylvania or what have you are not states admitted into this union. This is not BS coming up in the first 8 articles of the Bill of Rights. This is Article 4, Section 3. An issue that they don't see very often. This is what's causing so much trouble with everyone's getting my document packets and going into court. They don't know what to do with it. And the same thing is almost certainly going to happen in your case. They've never seen it before. They don't have a clue. They don't teach them even in law school, for crying out loud. And they should be teaching all of us, I would say arguably from the 6th grade to the 12th grade, have a course every year on civics and government and constitution. You know, not just 10th grade civics, which is all I ever got. And I'd love to see my 10th grade civics teacher again, or my 12th grade U.S. history teacher, Mr. Puglisi, who was also our football coach, and say, hey, Vince, there was a few things you left out here when I was in your class 50 years ago. But that said, this is a clear conspiracy. They can't prove any of this. Now, the tricky part here, by the way, just a quickie, is that a lot of this stuff, I think government, if we had government properly constituted, defined and limited Republican federative form of government, they could do a lot of what they do, just not in the way they're doing it now. For example, with auto insurance, they cannot possibly pass a law in your quote-unquote state capital that declares everybody to be incompetent to drive when there's no evidence against anybody. That's the beauty of our adversarial form of system. It has to come, for example, if you get it from a jury conviction, especially for a felony, and where I come from, under some circumstances at least, running a red light or exceeding the speed limit, especially in school zones on school days, that would be and should be felony reckless endangerment. You get convicted of that kind of thing by a jury, now you're looking at probably having to carry auto insurance for 3 years, 4 years, who knows what. But that's because of your own acts and a jury conviction, not some damn legislature in the state capitol being encouraged by all these damn lobbyists they have up there to pass all these laws so the insurance companies can make money. That's not how it's supposed to work. That's a hell of an argument, and you to get charged with that, not having auto insurance. In addition to the fact, by the way, and video for another day, that insurance is all admiralty. I've got the Supreme Court saying it, and I agree with them. State courts can't exercise admiralty jurisdiction. The Constitution forbids it. Section 14, I believe, of the Judiciary Act of 1789, the first Judiciary Act, forbids it. The Supreme Court recognizes all of that, and yet here we are in what are supposedly state courts. And yet we know from this they can't possibly be state courts. So where the hell are we? Oh, that's a question that's going to leave some of them not sleeping too well at night, because what they're doing is committing treason by actively and carefully concealing this information from you, especially the smart ones out there that get my document packets and present these issues or attempt to present them, which we have every right to do, and the government has every responsibility to sustain their burden of proof, and they can't do it. So here we are in Pennsylvania. I'll fill in some more details as they become available, and I'll be looking into that situation and see what we can do against them offensively to keep them from doing this. If we haven't got a remedy here, that's a serious problem. They're going to presume a statute valid and presume that you're guilty of it. Oh, we've come a very long way from what the framers of the Constitution designed our Constitution to be. How in the world, what they did was, if you read the preamble, and yes, the Constitution has one, you see the idea was to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. I have a really hard time, and I think a jury would too, seeing how this kind of a scheme fits into things where they presume your guilt, they take your property, they throw you in jail, and with no right to trial by jury, and with a case that they can't prove. That's the magnitude of the issues I present. So that said, when I get an update on this one, I will let you know. Continuing on the earlier videos with the Merced and Pennsylvania cases. As I said, things are getting way beyond Barney Fife. It's just things you can't imagine it could possibly have happened. And just thinking about this myself, and I can see a great deal of humor in this. And by the way, don't get excited out there, because I saw a great deal of humor in the situation while I was sitting in that South Carolina jail cell too. I really didn't have much in the way of bad days there at all, which of course I wouldn't admit to a jury, but it wasn't the greatest of times. I was there overall 7 months, 5 months in Columbia. But I sensed even there, and the people I talked to, especially the strength that they tried to get me declared insane. We had 2 good 1-hour sessions, laughing and joking, very forthright, and of course she thankfully did the right thing, because if she hadn't, it would have been really tough to get around that, because you get a qualified, certified strength that finds you crazy. Now they stick you with one of their damn attorneys, and you don't get any of your issues into court. And I've had a case like that that's happened out here in California also that I'm working on. From Merced, and my God, what are these people doing out there? But the point I wanted to make here is just getting so really humorous that it occurred to me that, in fact, I may even do some serious checking into it. You get some producers to produce TV shows and say, listen, why don't we set up a sitcom here about the traffic court? And I would personally make the suggestion, as far as casting is concerned, if you want to cast somebody really good for the judge that has a big audience and people will love to see, why don't you hire Roseanne Barr? Thank you.